Hey everybody, I wanted to show you this concept that I learned yesterday from a good friend of mine, Rob Canan, super awesome guy, way better presenter, and but I'm hoping through this video you'll get some different thinking about how to look at life differently, and it is super awesome. It's a matrix that involves will and skill, and you can take yourself or take someone else that maybe you're working with, or maybe it's a family member, and insert yourself into that matrix or insert them into that matrix and figure out exactly what that person needs to help them propel forward if that's what they want to do, if that's what you want to do. And so it starts like this. There's the matrix, and there's high will, and then there's low will, then there's high skill, and then there's low skill. So you guys can figure that out. Like, you either have a super awesome attitude or in and around what will means, then you have low will, bad attitude. You know, life is just, you know, like you're like sucking on the pickle a little bit. And then there's the high skill. You're highly trained, you're professional, you can go, you have the tools to go make things happen. And then on the other side, there's low skill, and that could be just because you've come out of school and you only know a certain amount of things. And so your skill is a lot lower than someone who's been to school and been maybe in the field for a little bit longer and has some experience. And so with this matrix, you can literally insert yourself anywhere in here, or maybe if you work with employees, you can insert them, maybe it's your boss, put them in the matrix somewhere, not so that you can orchestrate your boss, your employer, but so maybe that you can understand them a little bit better and figure out, how do I respond better to my boss so that that the environment is a little bit better for me to be able to work with my boss, or for your boss to work with you a lot better. And so you can do it with your friends and things like that. Like I said, into any area of your life, whether it's your fitness, your diet, your health, your parenting, it's super awesome. That's why I think you'll like it. Then I'm going to insert another graph into here. Trust me, I'm not an engineer. I don't like graphs a whole lot, but these two graphs put together, they just work, and it's like they just work very, very well together. So the other graph is, I'm going to show you over here, is this would be you, and it'll make more sense when I explain it in a minute. This will be you. This is going to be obstacles, and this graph over here is, that's your dreams. And probably you can't see it that well, but I'll hopefully do a decent enough explanation that you can understand it some. And so insert yourself into any of these areas, or inserting your employees, family members, or whatever, whoever you want to insert in here, and let's figure it out. Take a couple minutes to do that. So if you take someone that has a high will, like a high will and high skill, what do you think that person needs in their life? Like, what do they need from you? Maybe you're a leader in your business, or in your career, your management position. What does that person need? Well, the last thing that they need is you to freaking micromanage them so that they can't grow, because they have the will, they want to grow, they want to make things happen, and they also have the skill to do it. Leave them alone. Just give them the tools, encourage them, and they'll be fired up enough to go make things happen. But think about this. If stuff starts going wrong, would you agree that probably this person here can start slowly slipping down, not in losing the skill? They still keep the skill, because I've learned that, but they start slipping down below the line and going back and then falling into the high skill, low will area. What do you do there? Well, you have to maybe inspire them, maybe have to motivate them, maybe have to get them around a group of winners, a bunch of champions, people who are winning. Because here's the thing, I always thought conformity was a super negative word, and I think it could be, but I think it also could be a positive word too. So if you think about conformity, it's a natural human need to want to conform. And so if you take someone, it doesn't matter who they are, if they're losing in life and you get them around a bunch of winners, what do you think that they need to do? What do you think that they will want to do? Well, here's the thing that I know they will want to do. They will want to feel, they will want to fit in. They will want to fit into that group of winners. And so maybe as this person has the will, they've just maybe lost a little bit over time because maybe some obstacles have gotten in the way. And so if you just jump down to this graph down here, these guys here, so the obstacles are getting in the way, maybe what they need to do is they need to get around the group of people, like I just said, a bunch of winners, and they will start to conform to those winners. They will start practicing principles that will get them into that winner's circle again. And guess what happens? This person here will start to creep back up into the will. And so into the high will, high skill. Because they already have the skill, like I said, they just don't have the will. And so they'll be up there and they'll continue to be champions, but maybe they need some ongoing, repetitive personal development materials that they can put into their lives. But let's say someone is starting off at the low will, high skill. Well, it's the same answer as if this person here slips down into the low will. You got to get them around some champions. You got to get them around some winners. You got to get them around some people that just want to progress through life and succeed, whatever success means. But it's not staying in one spot and getting stagnant or moving backwards and getting worse. It's about pushing forward, pushing that envelope and conforming to some people that are moving on. And so that's why it's so important. You need to plug into people at least on a monthly basis. Get around a group of people, whether it's at a seminar or a major conference or anything like that. You got to get around a group of people that are moving on, because I promise you, if you get around a bunch of people that are not moving on, that just do not want to win in life, you will get into that same spot and life will begin to suck. And so here's what you need to do for this folks here. You sit them down in your office, or you sit them down across your kitchen table and you say, okay, this is what we need to do. You come up with a game plan for them and maybe it's just get them around you. I heard a story, Sidney Crosby, he's a big hockey player in Canada. And what's that guy's? Mario Lemieux, he's a big hockey player. I'm from New Zealand originally, so I don't know really anything about hockey except you wear these things on your feet called skates. Anyway, so Mario Lemieux was, I think he was the captain of the Penguins, I think it was. Anyways, when Sidney Crosby was just a young guy, Mario Lemieux eventually took Sidney Crosby under his wing and brought him to live with Mario Lemieux. And the reason for that one of the reasons was so that he could get around a champion, and that Sidney Crosby would learn a lot of the principles and the characteristics of a person, Mario Lemieux, that was already a champion. And so here is the same thing. And so now if you so I hope that makes a little bit of sense, because what happens when you have this person here, you increase his will, like he already has the skill, he just has a sucky attitude as he slowly moves up, or she slowly moves up into this area here where people are performing at a high level. And so, but if you go over to this other side here where you have high will and low skill, you know, it's the same thing. It's pretty basic. All this person needs is they have the will to learn. And so it's like someone who maybe you call them up and you go show them a business, or you go show them something, and they decide, you know what, this is the thing that I want to do, and they get super excited. So they have a super great attitude. They have high will, but they lack some training. They lack some skill that you need to give to them, or you need to get them around the material that can help them grow. And so it doesn't matter whether you're coming out of university. So think about this university. You're super excited sometimes to come out of university. You also have the education, but in terms of stepping into a field where there already is a bunch of experience, you kind of have a little bit of lower experience. You have the excitement, and you have these pieces of paper that say you're super awesome, and that might be the case, but you have the low skill. And so really all you need now, if you're going from university into a career, for example, you just need a little bit of skill. Get around someone that has those skills. It's kind of like apprenticing. If you want to be a plumber or a carpenter or a pipe fitter or things like that, you have to go through a process of apprenticeship, learning, increasing that skill. And so same thing here. So this person has the will, and the one way that they can lose this high will is you just don't train them. You don't give them the tools to be able to learn, to move forward. Eventually, they just come to the realization, you know what, I suck. But you don't want to have that. They have the high will. They just need a little bit more training to get them to the point where they can start progressing from high will, low skill, over to the high skill. Make sense? So I'm going to the last one here where it talks about, and so this person here can go from high will to low will and have low skill, and they eventually get to the point too where they're losing. So you can literally drift from any quadrant, and so you have to be intentionally on course and making sure that you stay aware of what you need to keep yourself in that quadrant, or keep your employees or maybe some of your family members in those quadrants too. And so this last one here, low skill, low will, you're right here. That person is life just sucks. They're not winning, they're not moving on, they get a bad freaking attitude. Like, what do you do with people like that? Well, if you're in a business or you're an employer, well, let's just talk employer first. If you have people in your business right now that are low skill and they have a bad freaking attitude, you know what you need to do with them? Boom, you punt them. You got to get them off the bus. And so, but if I think about this, if I have a family, I got 2 kids, one's an 8-year-old girl and a 4-year-old boy. If they have low skill in something and low will, I'm going to obviously not punt them out of my family, but I need to realize that, Dad, you suck. You need to figure it out. I'm the example. I need to help, encourage, and teach him what I need to do to help him to go from low will to high will, and then learn the skills in different areas just to be better. And so this really getting a big punt is more like if you're on a team. If you're on a hockey team or a rugby team or a football team or any team, on an executive team or a corporate team, if they have low skill, low will, bad attitude, you freaking punt. I'm sorry, I had to cut the video here. My phone rang. I had to turn that off. That's low skill, man. Low skill. I got a good attitude. I want to make this video, but my skill was terrible. I left it on, and my wife ran through. Anyway, so we're talking about if you're on a hockey team, rugby team, football team, any team, corporate team, or just any team in general, and you've got a bad freaking attitude, and you already suck at it, and your skill is terrible, you punt them. You got to punt them, because they will drag you down, and I promise you, they will get other people that have high skill and maybe low will. They will drag them over to their circle over here, but they'll eventually, they just won't believe in themselves. They'll drag down the high will, high skill. They'll drag those guys down if you get enough of them around. And so you got to punt them, man. They're super negative. And so I'm going to so I hope that makes a little bit of sense, but I'm going to rub this part out. Actually, I'm going to rub this part out over here and just pop it in here so you can see a little bit better. But think about, if this is you here, let me just rub this out. Erase this, sorry. So this is you, low skill. So this is you here. These are the obstacles. And I'm sure this is in terms of people are struggling, they're not moving on, and they just can't figure it out. How do I go up to the high skill, high will? And so these are obstacles that they might have in their lives, and this is them, and they have this dream. They have a vision for where they want to be. And so if someone is struggling, you have to figure out, is their dream just not big enough? Is it the obstacles that are dragging them down, or is it them personally, they're not growing? Let me just pull this in a little bit better. There we go. And maybe it's them, but you know what? It's a combination of all three. Yes, their dream. You always need to be working on your dream. You always need to be intentionally working on your vision for where you want to be. Maybe it's your company, or maybe it's you personally. You always have these different dreams of where you want to be. And so the dream, you're always going to be working on that dream, pushing it bigger, making it much bigger. With your obstacles, you got to be pushing them down, like putting some pressure on them to decrease your obstacles. And then you got to be constantly growing you. You got to give yourself personal development, leadership development. You got to get around the right people and feed off them, conform to winners, conform to champions. And so if you're doing all those three things, eventually you'll be able to, while you're doing this, be able to push forward and grow and make yourself accelerate upwards. But here's the problem. If you only work on your obstacles and you can't figure it out, then you're in trouble. And so most people generally can't figure out the bigger obstacles on their own because they need different training, or they maybe need a different perspective. Maybe they need some coaching, or maybe they're sitting down with, maybe it's a therapist, maybe it's some personal stuff to figure out these different obstacles. And so, but here's one thing that you can do, if you're working on your obstacles and you're working on your dream, and you're also working on you, but nothing's moving forward, maybe what you need to do is, well, actually, before I raise that, if this is you, if you're trying to see your dreams, you can't, because you can't see through the obstacles. They're too big. They're bigger than how you're personally developed. You can't see over because that's where your eyesight goes up here. And so what you can do is you get perspective and you step back from the problem. You step back far enough that when you do look, you can look up over your obstacles and you can just see a tiny picture of your dream. So maybe you need to pump up your dream a little bit more so you can see it better. But here's the ultimate thing is do both. Step back from the picture, get a better perspective, look at the problem through someone else's eyes so that maybe you can attack it a little bit differently. Because if you're doing this and you're working on your obstacles come down because you're working on those, and your dream is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. That gives you the power. It increases your will, like your high will. And while you're increasing your high will through this process here, you're working on yourself here. So personally developing, your leadership development, maybe your skill base for your career is increasing. So now it's higher than your obstacles. And when you look back over time, the obstacles that stopped you when you were down here, were you literally laughed at them because there are only big obstacles, maybe, because you hadn't built yourself up into a person that could mentally push forward and through those different obstacles. But as you grow and you get around the right people and you grow yourself as a person, I promise you, obstacles will still be there, circumstances will still happen. But what you do is you have to create enough of a buffer. They call it productive paranoia, where you put all these buffers in place that when circumstances happen, you've built yourself enough, you've built enough buffers around you that circumstances just don't even phase you anymore. Like you recognize them for sure, but you push through them and you keep moving because the dream's bigger, you worked on yourself, and then you're up in the quadrant of the high skill, high will, and nothing can stop you. You can conquer, you can make things happen, and I promise you. Like here's some cool stuff here. Like I have my dreams up here. Like this one here. I told Catherine that when we move out of this house, I want to move out of the house that I'm in right now, August 2020, or maybe not August 2020, but the year 2020 for sure. That's less than 2 years away, and I got to keep that vision on. I got to keep that vision on the horizon. But I've also got to be working on myself. I got to also be, working on. Just making sure my high will, my attitude stays up. And I got to get around the right people. I got to constantly listen to good audios. I got to constantly go to, good seminars. And I promise, if you do the same, things will happen. Things will be positive, and your life will look a lot different 30, 60, 90 days from now. I talked to a good friend of mine, and he wanted to lose some weight, and he had been trying for years and years and years. And I'm not a health professional or a diet person or anything like that, but I practice a couple of things, and generally across the board, I think I eat more vegetables than donuts and things like that. And so I have a bit of skill and high will in that area. So I told him a couple of things, and within 30 days, he had lost, maybe around 60 days actually, he had lost like 30 pounds or something like that. And he was cursing me because he went out and bought these new freaking suits, and now he can't fit them, they're falling off him. And so there's lots of stuff going on, and you got to delay your life sometimes to be able to put yourself in a different position. Sometimes you got to delay the things that you want to do. I've got this hole in my ceiling, and you know how long it's been there? It's been there close to 2 years, and of course I want to fix it, and for sure Catherine wants to fix it, but it's not something I'm putting on my list. It's low on the list. It's an obstacle for sure, but I have a big enough of a dream that I just don't need to fix the hole in the ceiling. What's it gonna do for me? Nothing. I'd rather take money that I have right now and invest it into personal development stuff or training stuff that can help grow me. The hole will get fixed for sure, probably in 2020 when I move with the family. And so life is so good. And I promise you, if you apply that matrix in your life, and then you take the graph and you have the you and the obstacles and the dreams, you can push through, man. You can push through, and it just gives life a different picture. You can attack it from so many different angles, and then get around some awesome people, man. Get around some awesome people, and I just know for a fact that you'll look back and you'll realize that all the stuff that you were going through months ago, years ago, that it was worth pushing through. And so I hope you guys got something out of this. Thanks, Rob Canan. You're super awesome. And that was a great presentation that you done yesterday. I got so much out of it. Thank you. See you guys later. Thanks for letting me share with you.